If any budding writers are watching this for their health and safety,
Yeah.
I would not want to elaborate more on it. But my writing process is instinctive and chaotic. I think the most time that I spend on is finding myself to commit to a story. And why do I want to tell this story? And I feel that, that's the most important question. It's like, getting into a marriage. Because once you're once you're in bed and committed to that, you need to see it through. So please think very hard before. That's the time where you're really need to think. Screenplay is a very organic piece of writing. It's not like writing a book. It's not a finished piece of work, because you've written these scenes which are going to be interpreted by your director, which then you've written these dialogues which are going to be performed by actors. They bring their own set of experiences and emotions to it.
So, Kanika, you've written books. You've obviously written the 2 films we talked about. You wrote Ra.One. You have some films coming up. What is your writing process like?
It differs with every story. It's chaotic, if you to ask me.
Okay.
And if any budding writers are watching this for their health and safety,
Yeah.
I would not want to elaborate more on it. But my writing process is instinctive and chaotic. The maximum time I think that I spend when I, like I wrote my 3rd book and post that the films that I'm writing, I find myself pondering the most before picking up a pen and committing to a story. I think the most time that I spend on is finding myself to commit to a story. And why do I want to tell this story? And I feel that, that's the most important question. And once it's like, getting into a marriage. Because once you're in bed and committed to that, you need to see it through. So please think very hard before. That's the time where you're really need to think. So one thing that I can say is my process definitely is spending enough time to first decide if I want to tell the story or not. Because there's so many ideas and there's so many people now coming and saying, would you want to write this? And there's so much excitement, and there's so much, you also get excited to write this and write that and tell this and tell that. But the most important thing is you need to know, is it just like an infatuation, or is it the long haul? So that for me is one of the most important tent poles, or one of the most important things I need to kind of define and cross. And once I've committed that, okay, this is the story that I need to tell, then I start kind of figuring out the world. And I'm just telling you in a very ballpark manner, because it kind of is a little fluid. It's also instinctive. But what I have figured after I kind of look at the 4-5 films now that are there, so then I kind of start figuring the world. What is the world and which world they're in and all that. And once it all comes together, and then the characters and what are they saying and why are they saying, so it kind of builds in my head first before it goes down on paper. So getting it on paper is actually the last thing.
Got it.
So it's a lot of just a lot of feeling, emotion, characters. I listen to a lot of music also when I'm kind of ideating on a story, to kind of find some kind of a voice, some kind of a melody. So there are various things that one needs to do to kind of get into a zone. So it's important to kind of get into a particular frame of mind to be able to write a particular story. So a lot of my process is trying to get myself into that frame of mind. So once that is done, and then the rest kind of follow.
You talked about picking up a pen to write. Do you actually pick up a pen, or do you type? What is your process?
I love writing with a pen. Somehow I think it's so exotic. It's so fascinating. I think I love it because I don't do it so often. I think that's why I kind of, given a chance, I would want to write. But then because I'm forgetful, and I know if I write it and I will not find this paper ever, so it's going to just get lost.
Right.
So the rational part of my brain tells me to not be adventurous, and to go back to that laptop, and it'll remain there. I can find that folder.
Yeah.
So I type, I work on the laptop.
Got it. How long does it take you to write an average screenplay? I know it depends on the film.
Yeah, it depends, but average I'd say a year.
That's how long it took you for Kedarnath and Manmarziyaan?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
You are one of those few writers who's had a very collaborative journey with their directors. You've been very involved with the filming as well of the movies that you've been a part of. Would you be open to doing a film where you just wrote the script, handed it, and never got to look at it again? Or What would
No,
that be
see,
like for
I'll
you?
tell you, like I told you, storytelling, writing films, writing stories is a very personal, emotional experience for me. For me, it's like just having kids. Now, now, will I be open to giving it away? Of course, if it is clashing with something else, and if the director feels that, perhaps this bit let me do, and whatever, depending on what the situation is, of course, I like to be a team player, and there is, ultimately, once it's written out, the director is the captain of the ship. So, whatever he's comfortable with, number one, and number two, today the trend is actually the directors are not only with me, with other writers as well. They want the writers on set because they've understood the merit of how screenplay is a very organic piece of writing. It's not like writing a book. It's not a finished piece of work, because you've written these scenes which are going to be interpreted by your director, which then you've written these dialogues which are going to be performed by actors. They bring their own set of experiences and emotions to it. Now, I remember, sometimes when I write my own dialogues as well. So, when I would say the dialogue in an empty room, it would sound amazing. But when I see the actors saying the same thing, he's conveyed everything through his eyes and it's just seeming redundant. Or perhaps my director would say that, it's not sitting, I'm not finding it. It was making sense of paper, but I don't think it's required here, or I need to change that. So it is an organic piece of work. And I do definitely believe a lot of magic happens in the sets as well, because ultimately it's a visual medium, and when you're actually that transformation, when it's happening from paper to people are performing it and it's being filmed, I think that's where the magic happens. And that's when, if you're all around there, when the team is there, you can kind of build some moments that perhaps you couldn't have done on paper.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of merit in having writers on set. But I firmly believe, since filmmaking is a director's medium, it should be the director's call. And I completely respect that. So far, I've been lucky that all my directors have been very collaborative. I've had the most beautiful time working with Anurag Kashyap in Manmarziyaan. I'm having a great time with Prakash in Judgementall Hai Kya. With Gattu, it was a different kind of a journey, but it was a good experience. And then, yeah, so I'm open to it. And having said that, since I'm also an author, I do get my share of, owning the piece of work that I write entirely. So, that hunger for ownership is kind of not there, because I do write for different mediums. And when I want to directly interact with an audience and directly reach out to them, I do it through my books.
Through books.
And films is a collaborative team effort, and I like to work as a team.
Awesome.
And having said that, I also feel that now times are really changing, and the way the writers were viewed earlier, I think today perhaps these times are the best times to be a writer, because finally the whole importance and of content, the importance of the contribution of writers, is being not only applauded, but they're being put on like for example, my producers in Manmarziyaan, both Anurag and Anand sir, they gave me the platform to come forward and take the credit for a lot of things, which we did as a team. So that's the change that's happening, and not only with me, but you will see it across the industry, which is fantastic. So I think that will only get better stories, better content, and ultimately that's what we're kind of riding on. So
moving towards. Yeah.
So it's a good time to be a storyteller. It's a good time to be a writer.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to be writing in these times.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kanika. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you taking out the
Thank
time.
you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I think in Made in Heaven, the show was the first time that I was actually writing stuff which I knew that I wouldn't be directing.
Sure.
And it was also the first time that it was such a collaborative process. There are no perfect circumstances. And you can't listen to all the naysayers who are like, mat karo, nahi hoga, you're still not ready, or it's not good. Tune out from the world, the voices of the world, because and seek the voices of encouragement. If you seek that, there's always a lot of, there's always a lot of positivity.